Hi there. Welcome to the first Drunk on Riding Reactions. Today I'm drinking a Pabst Blue Ribbon, which I haven't had in a very long time. But there's a good reason I'm drinking it, because today we are going to talk about E3, the Electronic Entertainment Exposition, which takes place in Los Angeles. Pabst Blue Ribbon happens to be from Los Angeles. It's the only Los Angeles-based beer that I could actually get today. Apparently, LA doesn't have a wide distribution in Connecticut. Go figure. Fun fact, did you know Pabst Blue Ribbon is called Pabst Blue Ribbon because it actually won a blue ribbon? People thought this was a great beer back in 1880s during the Columbian Exposition over in Chicago. Look it up. True story. But today, this is basically an okay beer, which is perfect for us today because we're going to be talking about E3 2017, which in a lot of ways was just an okay E3. I'm going to spend the most time probably talking about Microsoft and their Xbox conference because I thought it was kind of the most interesting of the big three. That's Microsoft, Nintendo, and PlayStation. Now, for those who know me, you know I'm a PlayStation fan. I have a PlayStation hoodie. I have PlayStation socks. I have PlayStation figures, PlayStation statues. My PlayStations are the only ones hooked up over here. But you'll notice I'm sitting next to my Xbox 360, and if you can see it, my original Xbox over there. And today I actually ordered an Xbox One S. I haven't had an Xbox One before because I didn't think that there were enough games on it that I actually wanted. But I got a pretty sweet deal. But it's not as good of a deal as Microsoft started E3 with, advertising that they were lowering the price of the Xbox One S by $50. People were screaming, oh, it's a $199 Xbox One S. Got me excited. That was the price point I was waiting for. Unfortunately, everybody was wrong. Microsoft messed up on their tweet, didn't clarify until later, got everybody excited, got me pissed, got a lot of other people pissed, but they did scratch an itch, and an itch that needed to be scratched a little bit more. So for the past week, I've been trying to find an Xbox One S for a good deal. Again, found one today, kind of excited. You know what didn't excite me? The $499 Xbox One X, which, if you haven't heard about it, is the upgraded version of the Xbox One. Unfortunately, Microsoft's conference did nothing to actually sell me, and as far as I know, anyone that I know, on the system itself. It's $499, which is the price of a brand new console generation, typically. But $499 for a system that will play the same games as your Xbox One or your Xbox One S, it's kind of a step in the wrong direction if you ask me. I know I won't be buying it. I don't think Microsoft really expects a lot of people to buying it. I know we saw a stat just before E3 began about PlayStation Pro, which is kind of Sony's equivalent of the Xbox One X. That accounts for about 1 in 5 new PlayStation sales, which isn't a whole hell of a lot given PlayStation 4, I think, is already past 50 million units. So it's not selling gangbusters anymore. But you know, even though they didn't sell me on the Xbox One X, they did sell me on a couple of their games. Or at least the ones that they showcased, because they have a surprising lack of exclusives. And this has been Microsoft's problem for a while now, where they kind of only rely on Halo and Gears of War. They're two pillars. And they lost a lot of the old exclusives that really used to make their mark. Back in the day of the Xbox and the PlayStation 2, Xbox was my main system. I loved the Xbox system. I mean, aside from Halo, which was like the app killer at the time, they had a bunch of other great games. And I loved that. But nowadays, there's nothing that really interests me. What did I get the Xbox One S for then? Halo, Sunset Overdrive, a couple other indie games. But you know, they have Cuphead coming out, which looks like a 1930s Mickey Mouse cartoon gone wrong. That looks extraordinary. They have that new Minecraft update coming out. Doesn't do anything for me, but one of my coworkers said her daughter is all about that. I think her daughter is like 8, something like that. It appeals to that generation. Besides that, Xbox has a bunch of launch exclusive titles like PlayerUnknown's Battleground. Whatever that game is, it's on PC and it sounds absolutely amazing and I want to play it, but it's a launch exclusive. That means it's timed exclusive. They just use a different word for it. So it's going to come out on PlayStation, probably not going to come out on Switch. But then what do they have? They have Sea of Thieves, which, I mean, it sounds fun. Once you get it out in the wild, is it going to be fun? And if you're not playing with people that you know, people you're in the room with, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Wii Sports, which if that were online, that wouldn't have been nearly as fun as just crowding around your room. But me as an adult, it's hard to get people in a room together to just play video games nowadays. I want to go out and have a good time and go drinking or something. Not PBR. Anthem looked great. The writing in it was pretty awful. The dialogue was pretty awful, but we're still a ways off, so that could have been just kind of beta stuff, especially since I think that was supposed to be representative of multiplayer. And I guess maybe they just think we all talk like that. And Microsoft also had a couple of awesome third-party titles like Dragon Ball FighterZ, which just looked like the show come to life, and that was amazing if you like fighting games. I don't. Still looks amazing. Kind of want to just play it drunk one night. They also had The Last Night, which easily had the coolest, quickest demo video of the entire conference. Stole everybody's breath away, I think. Kind of looked like a cyberpunk Blade Runner-esque kind of game. I know it had some backlash because of the creators and Gamergate and whatnot. I'm not going to get into that. I simply don't care. I just want the games. It's like celebrities. I don't care what they do outside their lives. Just give me a good movie. Just give me a good music. What you do in your private life, that's your own thing. I shouldn't be into that. Nobody should really be into that. But I digress. PlayStation. PlayStation did, again, they did okay, but they didn't do anything to sell me on the new system. They didn't really do anything to sell me on new games that much either. They started off showing Uncharted, The Lost Legacy, which I already have pre-ordered because it's Naughty Dog, and I've been buying Naughty Dog games at launch since before I knew what Naughty Dog was, starting with Crash Bandicoot way back in the day, which, again, pre-ordered, being re-released in a couple of weeks. So excited for that. And speaking of Naughty Dog, you know, they put out my favorite game of all time, The Last of Us, which was actually just playing before this. And while they didn't show The Last of Us 2, which they have in development, everything seems to remind me of The Last of Us. Days Gone looks exactly like The Last of Us. Very similar aesthetic, very similar movement, camera, everything. The new God of War looks a lot like The Last of Us. Even has you kind of paired with a child. God of War should not feel like The Last of Us. The God of War games that I knew and loved had a very different feeling than The Last of Us. Again, they could be bringing it into a new thing, a new direction, and I'm all for that. And I love great storylines, but I want a game. If you're gonna stick to a title that I know, like God of War, it should follow the example of the other titles that came before it. One thing that kind of almost sold me on something was the Supermassive games. They're the ones that made Until Dawn for the PlayStation 4. They debuted their new game called Inpatient, which is exclusively for PSVR. My wife and I loved Until Dawn. It was a bit wonky. It had its problems, but it was fun to play. It was fun to see what the people would do. I mean, you get to chop people's fingers off. You get to jump people off of these falling towers. It was a good time. The new one, same universe, 50, 60 years earlier, looks awesome. Don't really want to buy PSVR, given it's $3.99. Kind of goes back to the Xbox One S, where there are only a handful of games I actually wanted to play on it. But that's okay. I mean, then there's that Final Fantasy 15 fishing game. That's also on VR, but it's fishing. I don't like going fishing in real life. I'm gonna sit out there, drink my Pabst Blue Ribbon, and hope for a flounder to swim by. I don't think so. Call of Duty WW2 looked awesome, though it really reminded me of the old Medal of Honor games. I don't know whatever happened to those. Those are fun, but it doesn't look like this top-of-the-line World War II shooter story campaign, which seems to be what they're really pushing with this, is boots to the ground kind of thing. It just looks like another World War II shooter, which they kind of got away from for several years for good reason, because there were way too many of them, and they all did the exact same things. I hope they can do what Battlefield 1 did, and come out the gate swinging, and bring some kind of new experience. But so far, what they've shown doesn't seem like they're going to do it. But then you get something like Spider-Man. Spider-Man looks awesome, if very quick timing. And you get something like Detroit Become Human, which the new trailer kind of bored me. Didn't really do anything for me. I ended up kind of spacing out and doing something else, and did zero interest for me. Hopefully that will get remedied at some point. I just marvel at that as a writing job because it has to follow so many different branching paths. I'd like to see the script for that. I bet it's thousands of pages long, and it's probably fun. It's probably a fun read through, if not very confusing. But nothing at PlayStation's conference really wowed me. You know, Xbox had the huge wow factor, besides the $4.99, when they announced that their Xbox One would start to offer backwards compatibility for the original Xbox games. Now, I have no plans to play my original Xbox games. My original Xbox is not hooked up, but it's nice to know that I can have this one system I can pop a disc into, download a quick update, and play any game that I want. It's a very comforting feeling. And I think that's something that Sony is really lacking right now. They don't seem to quite get that kind of sense of comfort. But that goes into them being the hardware leader this generation. Whereas last generation, Xbox was the hardware leader, and they didn't really do any kind of innovation. It was PlayStation, Sony, that did all of the innovation. Other than the Kinect, which at this point, I think we can kind of call a certified failure, right? Nintendo friggin' stole the show. Nobody saw it coming. Sure, we knew Super Mario Odyssey was going to be there, and that was going to be probably game of the show. It ended up being a lot of people's game of the show, either that or Spider-Man. But what we didn't expect was Metroid Prime 4. I didn't like the original Metroid Primes all that much. I hated the controls. They looked very cool, and I wish I could play them, and at some point I'd like to go back and play them. I still have my Wii over there. It's not hooked up again, but the Wii's not that hard to hook up. I can play that. I'll hook up my GameCube while I'm at it. Why not? What excited me more was Metroid Returns remake on the Nintendo 3DS. I don't have a 3DS, but I did have the original Metroid Returns, which is Metroid 2 on the original Game Boy. My favorite Metroid game. I kind of want to buy a 3DS, even though I already played this game, but I never beat it. And that's the problem. I don't know how far I got in, but I hit this wall where I would go around the whole level and I couldn't figure out where to go next. I'd love to be able, as an adult, go back and conquer that. If I had my Game Boy still, I would. I have no idea where my Game Boy is, have no idea where my Metroid 2 cartridge is. But if I did, I'd play it. Outside of those guys, Battlefront 2, the Star Wars game, that looked pretty good. Although it was focused on far too long at the EA press conference. I think they had half an hour. Way too long for primarily a multiplayer game. Even though they're trying to stress the campaign, which I get, because that was the chief complaint of the first Battlefront game. No, it shouldn't be half of your thing. Just let people go play it. Just throw some stuff up later for whoever wants to do it. I skipped the Bethesda stream so I could sleep because it was on at midnight. I don't know what they were thinking there. But I did catch up with it the next day, and Wolfenstein. Oh my god. I want it. I want it so bad. That trailer. Oh, it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. I was just sitting there screaming. Literally screaming because it was so amazing. Can't wait for that. South Park, A Fractured Butthole. Don't have that pre-ordered. Kind of want to pre-order it because I love the first South Park game, and this looks to completely ump the ante. Can't wait to pick that up. That looks a lot of fun. I love that Matt and Trey are really in on it. They're doing all the voices. They're doing a lot of the writing. They're doing a lot of the character building and the world building that is involved in this. And I think that is really important. You get these creators behind the games who not just know what they're doing, not just know the universe. They have this passion, this drive to make it right. I think it's probably why Naughty Dog has done so well these last couple of years, because they have these singular visions about what they want to do, and they've gotten to the point where they can do that. You know, when The Last of Us came out, that was a huge risk for them. They had only made platformers really before then, and they wanted to try something different, And they were really worried about it. And looking back on it now, everybody's like, yeah, you should have totally done it because it's like the best game that was ever released. But at the time, a big risk. But we're going to get to The Last of Us, I think, at a later point in a dissection because, again, my favorite game of all time, closely followed by the original Halo, mostly for multiplayer reasons, and Ocarina of Time, obviously. Last one I want to touch on before we go is Beyond Good and Evil 2. I played the original Beyond Good and Evil on the GameCube. Absolutely loved it. Beyond Good and Evil 2's trailer did not look anything like I remembered Beyond Good and Evil. It looked more like The Fifth Element with some pigs and monkey people. I remember the pig from the first game. Don't remember it looking like The Fifth Element at all. I remember taking pictures with a camera and sneaking around with a girl with green eyes. And there was a girl with green eyes in the trailer, which I read afterwards people are saying is a prequel. Didn't get that vibe. It is called Beyond Good and Evil 2 at this point. Who knows what it'll actually end up being. I'm sure we won't be able to play it for another 5 or 6 years or so. Who knows? My game of the show, probably Spider-Man. I think it looked really great. The combat looked really fluid. I was worried during the presentation about the controls. Read afterwards from people who actually got to play it that it controls very similar to the Batman Arkham series, which controlled absolutely fluidically. But after that, probably Mario looked amazing. Don't quite understand how co-op can be one person controlling the hat alone, but I dig it. It's something different, and that's what everybody loves about Nintendo, something different. It didn't sell me on the Switch. I have no plans right now to get the Switch. Not that I could actually buy one because they're sold out everywhere. But maybe eventually. I have all the rest of the Nintendo systems after all. So yeah, this E3 had its moments. It had some cool things, you know. The Xbox backwards compatibility, the debut of the Xbox One X, albeit completely overpriced. Some sweet games on the PlayStation side, even though most of what they actually showed were retreads from last year. Nintendo just throwing down the gauntlet and saying, hey, come at me, bro. And some great debuts from the third-party developers. But it's still nothing like some of the E3's past. The one where they debuted the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, those conferences. That PlayStation conference, you know the one I'm talking about? Gold. But I digress. So I'm going to go back to enjoying my Pabst Blue Ribbon. But if you've liked this reactions video and you want to see more, please consider being a patron. Go over to patreon.com/drunkonwriting and sign up. You can get exclusive videos, behind the scenes looks, even advanced looks at upcoming new videos. And if you like this particular video and you don't feel like doing that, please just give it a thumbs up, give it a share, comment, do whatever you feel like doing. All of it is appreciated. Hopefully I hear from you. If not, until next time, have a good one. Cheers.